Hey guys, it's the Eccentric Owl, and today we are reviewing, I think, my first kaiju film. Not the first one I've ever seen, obviously, but I believe it's the first one I've covered in one of these reviews. I did do this really big, in-depth, two-parter Godzilla video, where I covered all the connections with Godzilla to the other monsters in the Toho series, and how they all connect in continuity and how some of them don't connect, and how some of them actually are alternate stories. Interesting video, you should check that out. I'll leave a link to that just in the description. But today we are checking out Rodan, which is best gotten at the moment in this double feature with War of the Gargantuas. And first off, I'm just going to take a minute to say that War of the Gargantuas is a really good film. Itself a sequel to Frankenstein Conquers the World, so you might want to get that before you get this double feature. But regardless, the film can be enjoyed on its own merits without that. And it is a really good feature. In some ways, I'd say almost as good as Rodan. They're both very good in different ways. But we're not going to talk about War of the Gargantuas in too much depth, except to say that it's a good film in its own right, and it's worth the money of the double feature itself. But so is Rodan, and we're covering Rodan today, so... So Rodan is a movie about a giant... I guess it's a pterodactyl. The implication is that it's slightly deviated from your stereotypical pterodactyl, but basically it's just a giant dinosaur bird. It's pterodactyl-like, and you can see a halfway decent picture of it here on the back of the box. And for the record, these pictures on the back of the box are from both movies, and they're all in black and white, but both of the movies are in colour, so I'm not entirely sure why the box has black and white images. But the film is in colour. It's from 1956, so it's probably one of the first, if not the first, of Toho's colour monster movies. And the regulars are all here. It's a Toho production. It's the same guy in the suit that was Godzilla. It's the same musician. It's Akira Ifukube. Ishiro Honda is directing. So the whole team's there. Them and more. And the plot is that there's a small Japanese village, and in this village there's a mining operation going on. So they're digging away, and they uncover these giant, I guess you'd call them maggots, or some sort of monster worm thing. I believe the film itself does have a name for them. It's on the box. It calls them meganulon. You only see them for a few minutes, and I don't think they're even named in the film. But they're just these giant... It's the length of a grown man crawling about, but chubbier. And so these things are in the mine, and obviously it goes without saying this is causing people problems when they start digging out and trying to move into the village and eat people. So the first 20 minutes aren't even about Rodan, it's about these pesky little worm things, these meganulon. And damn, are these things annoying. Just crawling about the streets, and you don't see too many of them, but problems greatly amplify when one of the miners is trying to help seal off the shaft and deal with this problem, and he falls into a cavern with a giant egg. He sees the giant egg and he sees something. It's very vague what exactly he sees, and people are trying to interrogate him in hospital. And then it happens. Something is seen flying about with such a speed that it's hard to catch a good glimpse of, and with the ability to shatter and blow things away with just the sonic boom of its wings. This monster, of course, is what's come to be known as Rodan, a very popular monster, one of Godzilla's, I wouldn't say fiercest adversaries, because they're not really seen fighting each other one-on-one that much. But definitely one of the more popular monsters, making several reappearances throughout the series, including Ghidorah, the three-headed monster, the 90s version of Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, in which Rodan mistakes Godzilla Jr. for his own baby. And curiously enough, in that one, he can shoot radioactive blasts from his mouth, but in no other movie can Rodan do that. But that movie is part of a separate continuity, and so it's technically a different Rodan. It's the one Rodan that has these different abilities. But no, this one doesn't have that. And this one is pitted off against the military. And the military are proven to be powerless against it, as is so often the case. Because, I mean, it's a giant monster. What are they going to do? This one can fly so fast they can't even keep up with it. At least the military could keep up with Godzilla, but then they couldn't damage it. The military probably could damage Rodan with enough firepower, because it's not built like an invincible truck, you know? It's a bird. It would be a lot easier to just blast it away, but the problem is it's so fast they can't even really hit it. So I'm not going to go into the spoilers of how they do eventually get rid of Rodan at the end of this movie, but I'm going to say that's the one thing I wasn't too fond of about the movie, was the Rodan's death. Because, how to say it without giving away too much spoilers, I just thought that the way that it was defeated was a bit anticlimactic. I wanted maybe a sudden appearance of a second monster, or some dramatic final fight with, you know, some sort of military force secret weapon or something. And the way it's defeated is rather uneventful. Just my opinion, though. So other than that, the music's great, the visuals are great. It's a very good film in every sense. I thought it was well plotted. It's just generally one of the superior of these films of this time. And it's a lot of fun to watch. It does have a certain amount of replay value. So I'm going to give this a 7.5. It's a pretty good film. I'm not going to say it's up there with the original Godzilla, nor the best of the Godzilla sequels, but it's fairly high up there among the kaiju in general. Better than quite a few of the Gameras. But then I'm not very fond of Gamera. I'm going to be the first to admit that the child-friendly angle in some of the Gamera films was pushed so far that it almost became a self-parody. Anyway, my personal opinions on Gamera aside, and I don't think all of Gamera is bad, but damn, when they pushed the child-friendly angle, they really pushed the child-friendly angle. There's none of that in this one. Rodan's swooping down and eating people and eating cows and whatever he can get his little beak on. And he's just a really cool monster. And they do, like, give him a certain amount of humanity as well. I mean, as much humanity as you can give to a creature. You know, he's just trying to survive. He's never portrayed as a villain. He's just an inconvenience, you know? No one said that he's a bad guy in this film, just that they need him out of the way at any cost because he's killing everyone. Just to make his nest and do what he thinks is normal and natural, and I suppose from our perspective that's anything but. Anyway, the film, yeah, 7.5, it's a solid film. If you can get the double feature cheap, awesome. If you can only get it at a slightly higher price these days, still worth it, still worth it. You do run the slight risk of Rodan actually becoming its own Blu-ray, and same with War of the Gargantuas. And if they do, that's probably the preferable option, but there's also the chance they'll never hit Blu-ray, so... I mean, I think they would, at least in Japan, but the Japanese aren't going to provide subtitles, are they? The question is, do any of these ever come out in America? They certainly never come out in the UK, but in America, you've got a good chance. About half of them have come out on Blu-ray. Anyway, whether you decide to hold out in hopes of a Blu-ray or just get this DVD, I definitely recommend watching Rodan. Thank you for watching, and watch the skies when you go out today, because he might swoop down and eat you. Peace out.